live.
We're live on YouTube. Let's go. You just tweeted
Preparing
out?
to live stream. I'm going to here in a second once I get the link. Once it's up, I guess.
I think it's already up.
Zook. Looks like it's up. Hey, we're there. And I gotta mute myself because I can hear myself talking delayed. It's super weird.
Living without Wi-Fi is probably one of the worst things you can do to yourself.
First world problem.
It really is, though. Need to buy a kitchen, dining room table, and chairs.
Okay, we're up there. And it's rolling. And how do I check comments? Nothing yet. There's no one on. And I'll hit record when we're ready.
I'm ready.
Ready.
We're just gonna go off of your like little agenda you put in text, right?
Sure. Yep. I think first, just hi everyone. I know everyone's kind of out of the Pacer season, but first Zach's here, so hear his
right.
take because we haven't had him. Yeah, I'll hit record. Ready? 3, 2, record to this computer.
Hello and welcome to the Corner 3 show. Oh, it's so good to say this. There's going to be 2 other names that follow mine. My name is Alex.
My name's Ross.
My name is Zach.
And we're the Corner 3 show. Not the Corner 2 show anymore. Corner 3 show. Zach is back, ladies and gentlemen. Zach comes back. Pacers fans, it's been a second since we talked to you. It's September 2nd, 2020. Pacers are without a coach. We are doing this in the middle of a game 7, which shows just how tuned out we are right now from basketball. Actually, I'll be watching that after this ends. Anyways, we've got a lot to talk about, but first, we want to turn it over to our favorite man from the South Side himself, Mr. Zach Lovelace. Zach, your thoughts on what the heck has happened in the Pacers Nation world? You're getting ready to smile for those watching live on YouTube. 3, 2, 1, Zach, it's your floor.
He's got his pen out. I think there's some serious.
Oh no. I missed 2 episodes since the playoffs, and then the season ended. And I think I tweeted at the beginning of the series that the Heat would win in 5, and they ended up doing it in 4. So I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but I was just off by a little bit. But I'm a Pacers fan. I'm always going to root for the Pacers to do good. I want them to win, no matter what. But I'm not the most enthusiastic person on this show about what can happen. I try to be more realistic, and I had a feeling going into the playoffs it was what was going to happen, especially when Sabonis went out. This team all year, even though your typical Nate McMillan team, they're going to do real good in the regular season. He coaches them up for that. Once it gets to the playoff time, in my opinion, this team just wasn't built for that. I know we had a lot of injuries. We had Lamb out, Sabonis out, Vic still recovering. Mm-hmm. But the roster itself never, even with Nate McMillan as the coach, the roster never impressed me as far as the bench players. We had a lot of guys who were journeymen. For example, Justin Holiday's been on 7 teams in 7 years. McDermott's traveled around. If you're relying on guys like that and Ponytail TJ Leaf to carry you in the playoffs, it's going to be an issue. So, I mean, the end of the season didn't surprise me. I know my pessimistic side said 5 games. Internally, I was hoping they at least go to 6.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's weird the way with the bubble and everything. It didn't disappoint me too bad. Yeah. Just because it's an awkward.
You didn't have the chance to blow a few bucks going to a game either.
Yeah, I didn't waste a bunch of money going to the game. It was just kind of like, oh well. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, here we're going to come back to you, and you take a big swig of that, Zach, because we're going to be getting all the hot takes. But Ross, let's talk about the news from last week that Nate McMillan is out as head coach of the Pacers, just about 2 weeks after it was revealed, not announced. We learned later that the extension was actually done before entering the bubble, but that extension is now void, and Nate McMillan is no longer the coach of the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, so I have the timeline and stuff written down here. We didn't come to you right away. There's other stuff going on, and we thought let's just sit on it. There are a lot of other shows that came out in between here, but we thought a week in between give us time to think about what really happened and the candidates we want to see. But yeah, so Nate fired a day after we all said he should have been, and then he didn't get fired, and then it happened, and that was shocking. Can't believe the Pacers actually pulled that trigger. But yeah, you referred to, so he got an extension. But it was a weird one because this next year was a team option. So really what they did was pick that up and gave him another team option for the year after. So he really only had a 1 year. They're only on the hook for 1 year of a coaching contract, which is $3-4 million.
Well, the thing is though, with Nate, he was always rumored to be one of the lowest paid coaches, a head coach in the NBA. So likely around $1 million, maybe a little bit more. So out of, at the end of the day, not the biggest chunk of change to have to walk away from for an
right. And so on Twitter, J. Michael, Indy Star, he had a story. I know, but he had a bunch of bullet points about why Nate got fired. So his bullet points, there was displeased ownership. Too much isolation was the biggest thing the ownership griped about. Bad defensive strategy, not enough emphasis on relationship building with the players. 4 key players were unhappy, and he rejected pleas to adjust his game plan. So it sounded more like ownership made this decision.
Yeah.
Over Pritchard.
It sounds like Simon stepped in, because it sounds, if it was Pritchard's decision, I think he would have left him with 1 more year. But I think the Simons and management, kind of came together and said, look, this is too much. And I mean, to be quite honest, going into the bubble, there was even a chance that Oladipo wouldn't have played. So maybe that was their thinking, right? Because actually, remember, there was that 2-week period or so where we thought he wasn't going to play. So he got extended before that, most likely. So maybe ownership is like, look, we can't fire him if he doesn't have Oladipo as well. But now he did have Oladipo, which was a change of mind for Victor. And then they still got swept. So I think that probably actually played a bit of a role too, in the fact that, they thought he was going to be even more short-handed than he was.
Yeah, I got two other bullet points then. So Justin Holiday talked about not happy with the defensive strategy, and that Nate says no switching, fight over or under every screen, which today's
works really well in today's NBA.
Not so good with shooters like Miami had, as well as there was a point that Malcolm Brogdon would only call him McMillan or Mr. McMillan. So that was part of the relationship building. They want players and coaches to be on first name basis. That may be stretching a bit, but these are all the points that I've found. Scattered across.
I appreciate that that's out there. Maybe half of those, are probably actually 100% accurate. I think at the end of the day, he's a bit of a lame duck coach, and for an organization that is all about culture to basically always work in this limbo. And the same thing with Vogel too, right? It was like he's like a 1 year deal after 1 year deal after 1 year deal, lowest paid coach, right? Not a huge figure in the NBA. For him and for some of these bigger personalities on the team to come to grips with that, it's probably pretty tough. And Pacers, it's well documented. Zach will nod like crazy to this, but I mean, we don't shoot the 3 enough, right? Shoot way too many mid-range jumpers. We play too slow, and in the playoffs, when we can't stop anyone and we can't hit shots, it's, we're going to lose by a lot of points. So, and you're pretty much relying on playing a perfect defensive game and making sure your stars play well. And also, to Zach's point again, the bench was so limited, and I put that on Pritchard a bit. I will say that having Lamb as a bonus in that second unit would have been fantastic, obviously, right? But, I think it was the right move, sadly.
Yeah. Zach, what'd you think? Happy? Sad?
I mean, I was fine with it. I mean, if you remember back to when they got rid of Vogel, they never even interviewed anybody. They went straight to Nate McMillan. Yeah. And Nate McMillan, nice guy, but he's never won anything. If you go back to his career, he's 17-36 career in the playoffs, 32%. He's only got 1 in his entire career playoff series win, and that was with the 04-05 Sonics, all right? So with the Sonics, he won 50% of his playoff games. Then he went to Portland. He won 33% of his playoff games. Then he went to Indiana. He's only won 15% of his playoff games. So he's gotten worse every single team he's went to. in the playoffs. Uh, he's a good regular season coach. I think 52% of his games, but in the NBA, there's a lot of games. There's a lot of nights where people, especially nowadays, they're taking a game off or two. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's a washed out season. It's diluted. There's too many games. And so, a lot of teams can get to 40 wins and get you to 50% or 42, 41 games. So, you make your money in the playoffs. And when you have a career win percentage in the playoffs of 32% and you've been swept 3 out of 4 years, especially in a year where it's a bubble and it's awkward and everybody has a chance and you don't win any games, it's time to go. And it is what it is. Nice guy, but, it's time to move on from what he was doing.
Here's the rebuttal on Twitter. 2020, no Sabonis. 2019, no Vic. 2018, took Cleveland to 7. 2017, swept, but the total point spread was 16 points to the Celtics. So
I get that, though, and my initial reaction was, that's probably right. But every team has something, right? Like, you look at the Jazz, who just took the Nuggets to 7 games and were up 3-1 without Bogdanovich, right? And there's a lot of different scenarios. There's no perfect season, right? Like, a perfect season is having LeBron James on your team. That's a perfect season. Anything else from other that is every other team, right? Every other team deals with something.
I mean, Frank Vogel, with no experience, took the Bulls to 5 or 6 games with Tyler Hansbrough on the team. There's enough right there.
Well, my thing on that, you could take it to this year. Both 8 seeds took the number one a game against the number 1 seed, and the Pacers can't win one. I mean, right now the Heat look like they're unstoppable, I guess. So you can.
Well, I will say this though. I think, and this is a bigger culture item. I mean, this staff, has always been known to, kind of keep that defensive core with Dan Burke, whatever, but has never been a development team, right? Young players have never gone to the Pacers and really had this flourishing, role. I mean, PG was just clearly a very talented player, right? But like, we haven't had any of our mid-round draft picks really pan out. We haven't had any of our second-round draft picks pan out, even though there looks to be talent there, right? Like, remember, we looked at Alize Johnson. We're like, man, he's a perfect energy 4. We looked at even a guy like Joe Young and said he can at least get buckets in a game in short spurts. And I'm not saying that we need every second-round pick to pan out, but I think my point is that we've seen talent come through this roster and through this team over the past, even during Vogel's years, but haven't seen it develop like you have in so many of the teams. Like, look at the Miami Heat right now, right? You got Duncan Robinson, a guy who, was a D3 player, right? He's starting, playing huge minutes. You got Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn. You've got a guy like Dragic, who barely played at points the regular season, coming back and having a monster playoff. So I think my bigger thing, even rather than coaching and X and O's, is like, this team is never, as we know so well, this franchise is going to have a very hard time bringing in star players, right? So that means you have to develop from inside. And if you have a track record now going on almost 10 years, with the only exception being, one of the top 3-and-D players, top wings in the entire NBA as your development exception, then I think that's pretty telling. And I think that's more of a issue. I love having that consistency with Dan Burke, but like, this roster, this franchise really needs a different culture when it comes to coaching. It can't just all be about hard-nosed defense. It has to be about developing a key young players and internally, and wanting to go there because that's where you can get better. And I think that kind of can bring us on to where we're going in the future. Pritchard has brought out in his press conference that they're looking for potentially a program builder, which I like to hear, but they also need to get modern.
I got the Pritchard summary from Pacers.com pulled up.
Perfect.
If you guys want to keep talking, I'll look through and grab the points that were interesting. A program builder, he says he's looking outside the box.
There's really only 2 options for me.
Ooh, we're going to get to the names already? Wait.
Well, you're still looking up stuff, so we can jump into it if you want.
Let's jump into it.
Okay.
So,
wait, one thing before we get there. I just want to preface, we've said Vogel and Nate a few times, and here's what I'm nervous about. Both of those guys were assistant coaches before they were hired on as a Pacers head coach.
It's not going to be an internal hire. I would actually be surprised if any of our assistant coaches stay.
I agree. We said on the last show, Popeye and Bano's days are numbered. No way either of those guys are ready for head coaching. Even though I did read Popeye was a potential head coaching candidate, I don't see why that's the case. Dan Burke doesn't want it. He's turned it down 1,000 times. He'd be the only coach that may stay. But that just made me nervous looking back through the history. The last 3 coaches were already on the staff before they were hired full time.
It's not happening. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Please. Okay. That's all I want to say. Okay. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
So, everyone's been talking about Mike D'Antoni. I'm not a Mike D'Antoni fan. I don't want Mike D'Antoni. I don't want somebody that's been around the league forever, who it's, good coach, but he hasn't done anything. He's perfect for Houston, but they're struggling with the Thunder right now.
Yeah, he's perfect.
We don't have the roster for a Mike D'Antoni team, and we don't have the budget for a Mike D'Antoni team. So my 2, we're not going to get either one of the 2 I want. I'll be honest with that, but these are the 2 I want.
You want to save it? I'll go through the list and then we can pin
so
it.
you can go through the list, Ross, but there's only 2 in my mind, and then I won't care about anybody else.
Okay. I want to say one thing about D'Antoni first. Do you know he has the same agent as Kevin Pritchard?
Doesn't matter. It's not happening.
Okay, I'm just facts that I found were fascinating.
If it happens, it's a fake good hire. It's like a big name who, he can run a nice offense, but again, we need guys who can develop young players. We need a fresh approach to this team.
Pritchard said something about this today on the Docket show about rumors. He hears the rumors just like all of us, and he goes, "Oh, who starts those rumors? Oh, people in those markets." It's weird how strong the rumors are for D'Antoni already. He hasn't been fired. I know he's out of contract after this series, and if they lose tonight, he's going to be fired. It's like a guarantee.
I wouldn't be surprised though if Pritchard's agent put that out there, considering he's a D'Antoni guy, just because it doesn't. It helps D'Antoni in general. It doesn't really have anything to do with the Pacers at the end of the day. I just think it would be a fake good hire.
Okay. Well, I have a massive list. I don't know how we want to go through it. I've circled 5 that I'm interested in.
Do your top 5.
I wrote down first who Pacers Twitter has mentioned to us to consider. I thought we could go there, and then we can go maybe on our own.
Ross.
So Pacers Twitter wants D'Antoni.
No.
Mark Jackson.
No, we're not talking about either of those people. Go.
Sam Cassell.
Yep, I like that one.
David West has been thrown out here.
He's not. It's not happening
in the last week.
Nope.
And then 2 that were I had to look up: Charles Lee, Milwaukee assistant, and Lindsey Gottlieb, Cleveland assistant. And then the other one that I think we're all probably leaning towards is Becky Hammond. We can get back to that. So that's what Pacers Twitter would like to see. I looked through other coaching candidates that are out there. So there are how many teams without a coach? New Orleans, Brooklyn, Indy, Philly, Chicago, and possibly Houston at the end of the season. So if you went through that list and you're a coach, obviously Brooklyn's number 1. That's where you'd want to go. Probably Philly, New Orleans, 2. Probably maybe not Philly. Philly's a
I don't think any of the coaches that Indy is actually considering would be head coaching candidates for any of those spots, except for New Orleans. I think New Orleans is the only place that is somewhat of a similar hire. I think Philly, you need like a Mark Jackson. You need a guy who can handle attitudes, been around the league, lots of respect. Same thing with Brooklyn. You need I wouldn't be surprised if D'Antoni went to Brooklyn. I think you need a guy who's been around a bit. But
Brooklyn's getting Jay Kidd or Ty Lue, something like that. That's what they're
probably
getting.
Exactly.
That's
a guy who's been around the block, but is respected.
So here's some other names that are out there. So Kenny Atkinson, which I find intriguing. Jerry Stackhouse, JVG. Let's see. Darvin Ham's been thrown out there. I don't understand personally why. No. Brett Brown, obviously, he needs to cool off.
Nope.
Dave Yeager, where I don't know where he went. Juwan Howard.
Nope.
He wants to come back to the NBA. Then 2 other names I had to do some digging on. Well, one besides Mike Brown. I don't know how to pronounce it. Udoka, the Spurs assistant. Interested in him. And then one, Zach, it was actually, I read it, and I didn't just say this to make you mad, but Anthony Grant is rumored.
I've been thinking about that, man. I swear to God. Another Dayton coach is taken from me.
If Indiana takes 2 Dayton coaches in a row, oh man, that would be something. Would
Hey,
you be?
he Pritchard did mention that he would look at the college ranks. He was looking at the college ranks.
He's the number
Oh,
one
man.
college coach that they think would make the jump that
Oh,
I was
Zach,
finding in all the articles.
Zach, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him. I can
At least,
already.
at least he would be like on the Pacers, so I'd be happy because I
No, you wouldn't. No, you
have him
wouldn't.
as a coach. But I'd be dying on the inside. Like,
You'd be so mad because
bro.
like you're not a Hoosiers fan. Well, that's different, college to college, but Pacers like at least
Oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
is great.
So
right,
there's
all
a
right,
big
let's-
chunk list. So yeah, go ahead. Then
Yeah,
What-
okay here. Here's my top. I'll give you my top 3. All right.
Okay.
Becky Hammond, Atkinson, Stackhouse, and I
Interesting.
say those. Quickly. I'll just say a little bit of why. Hammond. I mean, it was brought up today. The Pacers are the first team to ever hire an assistant GM.
I got that. Do you want to? Here's what they said. So the Pacers and hiring women in positions of authority.
Are you
in the
referring to the
franchise.
Indy Star article, Greg Doyle?
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah. So they hired the first NBA team to offer a lady a contract was the Pacers, Ann Myers in '79. First woman hired as assistant general manager, Kelly Kristoff in 2018. First woman to run an NBA front office, Nancy Leonard, 1977. So the Pacers surprisingly are
cutting
outside
edge.
the box thinkers with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Hammond, I like her A because Popovich hired her. B, she was like a dominant WNBA player, like an amazing player, knows basketball inside and out, right? Highly respected. She also, what I like about her is that she did her time. Like she sat
7 years in
she
San Antonio.
sat second assistant bench in her time in Spurs with the Spurs. So she's seen both kind of the more X's and O's and then in the game strategy, right? So that's why I really like her. And also just like, it's very different. And I feel another big reason why I like Hammond is this team has a bunch of adults, even though they don't have like that old crusty veteran, like a David West. You've got Malcolm Brogdon.
There's no
who's an
maturity
adult,
issues,
right?
yeah.
You got Sabonis just proposed today, but he's an adult, right? He knows the game inside out. There's no one on this team. You don't have like a Zach LaVine, a guy who like you're a little suspect on when it comes to just his maturity level or something like that. So that's why I like that hire. Cassell, I mean, he's first of all an NBA veteran for almost 20 years. He is highly respected by a guy like Doc Rivers, who I love and really respect. And he seems to be really respected by the players, which I think is a big part of this hire. Stackhouse, the same thing. And Stackhouse did his time with the Toronto Raptors G League team. So again, another guy who's done his time and hasn't had a head coaching gig yet. So all of these 3, I feel like could have the respect of the locker room, are program builders, most importantly, guys who would stick around here for a bit. I'd throw an Atkinson in there too. But like, I think it's a weird dichotomy with NBA players. And when they coaches move other teams, I feel like some players will look like, oh, well, Kyrie didn't respect him. Durant, if he actually liked him, would have probably stuck up for him. You just need someone who's got a fresh outlook, beloved by players, smart, and knows their stuff. And I think those 3 hit all of those.
I like it. Zach?
So, like I mentioned earlier, there's only 2 people I want, and I think my 2 are pipe dreams. I don't think it will happen, but I'll start with my second one. My second one, if the Pacers were to go balls to the wall, just go all out for it, willing to spend the money, willing to give up picks, you bring home Brad Stevens. You bring him back, you get Brad Stevens in house, place will be sold out every night. Like, you get Brad Stevens, you're wanting to win, all right? So he's my number 2 choice. And I say number 2 because it's less likely to happen, all right? But my number 1 choice, if you're telling me something that's more realistic, but I still don't think it's going to happen, but I want this person, I want Becky Hammond. I was thinking about it today, and I want the Pacers to be the first team to hire a woman NBA coach. And it's not because she's a woman. I think she's got the skills. I mean, as Alex mentioned, she's a 3-time All-American. She was like she was 16 years in the league, I think, NBA. She's been with Pop, so Pop trusts her. She coached their G League and won not G League, but Summer League and won their title, which I know some people will say that's nothing, but it's still experience. And it's not like, there's this stigma, I think, in the league about women coaching in the NBA, but there's men coaches coaching in college and in the WNBA. It's not anything physical. Women are just as smart as men, or even smarter in most cases, because we're idiots half the time.
Yeah.
And so
Chantel, if you're listening,
she's in the other room. She's in the other room. I think I want the more realistic. I don't think it'll happen, but I want Becky Hammond. I I think she could do it. I think it'd be a good hire, and I think it would get. I surprisingly, we're in the middle of corn country here, but I think it would get Pacers fans excited.
I support this. I was very surprised. All three of us, Becky Hammon picks, because that's my number one choice as well. I agree with everything you guys have said. I read an article where they asked Pau Gasol his thoughts on Becky Hammon, and he was the same thing. If teams don't have her on their radar, they are stupid, is pretty much what he said. And it's not a sexist pick just because she's a woman. She knows her stuff.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like the Spurs aren't going to give her the head coaching job. I mean, they gave it to Tim Duncan that one time when Pop got himself ejected, which was weird. So it's going to be somewhere else. And why not here? I think it would be awesome. I think she would do a great job.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Ross will probably know this better than me, but weren't the Knicks or someone on the East Coast interested in her like a year or two ago for interviews and she turned them down?
Ooh,
I think
I don't know that.
potentially someone like that threw out her name as like a rumored to be wanting to interview it, and she turned it down or something like that. But I think, like to the point Zach just brought out, like she coached a bunch of 19 and 20-year-olds in the Las Vegas Summer League and was able, like any notion that, a woman can't control, and it makes BS, right? Like she knows basketball way more than any of us know 10 times over, right? Like she knows the game inside and out. And like this friend, like we just need to do something fresh. We need to do something big, bold, and we need to change this. Like if you actually want to change the culture, if you want to get away from everything having Indiana ties, from
program
everything
builder,
being just a assistant coach being brought up in a head coaching spot, if you want to change the culture, if you actually want to be a team that competes for an NBA championship, because I'm sorry, but the same formula has been in place since Bird became head coach. We came close. You need to try something different if you actually want to compete. And I think she would be a fantastic fit. Now, I will say, though, that if we don't get her, or if we chose not to go with her, I would love to go with one of those former players who has proven themselves, because I feel like, again, you need someone who doesn't have much of a history as far as head coaching or at all, and you need someone who the players respect. And Cassell and Atkinson are probably one of the two most respected vets still in coaching in the NBA. So I would say that,
and Stackhouse.
So yeah, Cassell and Stackhouse. I think you need that respect, but you need someone who's got a strong personality too. You can't have someone who is afraid to voice what they need to say, right? Like you need someone with emotion, and McMillan and Vogel were just not that. Vogel, I think, is a good coach, but you're talking about a culture builder. You need someone who is just as popular as the players in some way, and also can stand in that locker room and everyone respects the crap out of them.
So who do you guys think, each of you, who's the realistic option? Who do you think they're going to hire? Not who you want, but who do you think?
I think they're going to go with Hammond.
You think so?
I think the fact that Pacers Twitter was so pissed off with McMillan, and I think that the fact that Pacers fans in general were, I don't think it went on deaf ears with the Simons. And I think that they would be willing to make this big move. I honestly think they will hire her.
Because like when Mark Jackson or some of those players are just a Nate McMillan again, in a way. So they're gonna pick someone outside the mold. If they don't, D'Antoni there's so much smoke there. I feel like it's not going to happen. Personally, I mean, I hope not.
It's not.
I mean, it'd be a change, and D'Antoni maybe would unlock Miles, which is our ongoing discussions all the time. Suddenly he's told to shoot 9 threes a game in the corner. Maybe that's what he needs. But man, I would love a Becky Hammon. I mean, they already fired a coach when I thought there's no chance they're going to. Now go hire a coach who I kind of feel there's very hard chance to happen, but I hope it happens.
Yeah, I truly feel like it will.
I want Hammond or obviously Stevens, but I think they're going to go for Atkinson.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Atkinson, the program builder. I mean, besides the Kyrie's I know what you said, Alex, but Kyrie's a crazy person. So.
I know, but I just think it's so tough. If you're an NBA head coach nowadays and you leave an organization without, with any sort of player drama, it's just going to stay with you. And like, whether it's good or not, this bubble brought players together. Like, the 250 boardroom meeting in the boardroom they had over the boycott. Like that stuff doesn't happen, in a regular NBA season, right? So many of the things that have gone on the bubble don't happen. I think players are closer than ever. I think you need to go with someone the players absolutely respect and there isn't any questions around, because that's the thing with this hire. This can't just be a 1 year, 2 year deal hire. This needs to be someone you commit to and you say, you're going to change the culture around here. You're going to change the way we play. We're going to modernize the Indiana Pacers. We're going to shoot threes. We're going to switch on defense. We're going to do all the things that we should do, because we've tried this, play basketball the right way. And I'm doing air quotes for those listening. Like, we've tried that, playing the right way, playing hard defense, right? 3 T's. We've done all that. Hasn't worked. Won't work. NBA is different. It's 2020. They need to go big.
I'm in agreement. We'll see what happens. When do you think it will happen? I mean, after the playoffs are done, after the championship's been crowned, they're not going to be the first one to pull a trigger. Chicago will probably get someone first.
I can see
Chicago.
I could see that. Honestly, I could see them having the person hired before the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
I could too.
Because there's only so much time in between.
That's true. I mean, the season's going to start in
point.
December.
The draft coming up. It's got to be within the next 3.
They will not want to wait. They will not want to wait.
True. I mean, Becky Hammond is open for interviews right now. The Spurs are out, so go ahead.
I mean, I assume that they have made contact with everyone that they want to look at by this point already. Like, they already said they are like on the whiteboard. So I would be surprised if they haven't already reached out to those that they would like. My fear is that it comes out tomorrow after the Rockets potentially lose. We don't know here yet. It's still in the middle of the game, but that the Pacers have reached out formally. That would be my worst fear. But I think let's pivot though. So we obviously know who we want for a coach, but what do the Pacers do not only in this offseason, but the beginning of next season, whenever it does start? What do the Pacers do with this roster? Again, little to no cap room. Doyle has written about, moving Oladipo, then moving Turner. I guess what do you guys think is the right thing to do? And then what do you think the Pacers will do?
You want to hear first a letter that Ross wrote in 2011 to the Pacers about who they should pick as a coach that I found in my emails? Yeah, this was at the end of Jim O'Brien. That's how upset I was.
Oh my gosh, you wrote a letter.
It's only 10 years ago, but here's
You
some
think they
highlights.
took it into consideration?
Jim O'Brien is fired, and with it, I believe Larry would get his contract extended. Thank God Jim O'Brien is fired. That's what I said in here. That means more George and Hansbrough. If
All right,
Bird
well,
had kept Jim, he deserved to be fired too. Here's why I wanted them to hire as coach. Larry Bird, no. Most likely, Mike Brown. I wanted Mike Brown really bad then.
Gosh.
What
is wrong with you, Ross?
My personal pick, I wanted Clark Kellogg if we're going to pull former players.
Oh, gosh. Ross.
And then my dark horse candidate, literally it says dark horse at the bottom there. Fred Hoiberg. Well, that was tried and failed.
God. Ross.
This is why I'm not general manager.
No wonder you brought it up on Twitter.
Search. Let's look at guys who have ties to Indiana, and that's it. And then that's how we're going to do our coaching search. That's how the Pacers have operated for the last 20 years. Guys who are tied to Indiana.
That's why they don't ask fans who they want, because they pick terrible options there. Yeah. Good job, Ross.
Zach, should the Pacers trade Oladipo?
I have 2 trades. You want to hear them?
Go ahead.
I asked. No.
I keep cutting
Zach
it up.
first.
Sorry.
Zach first.
Go ahead.
Should they trade him? Hold on. Let me preface this. It depends on who the coach is and what the plan is. If the plan is not to revamp the team and go for a title, and you think you're just going to wing it, you got to trade him. Because in my opinion, he's not going to be at a higher ceiling. I've tweeted this many times. He's a one-hit wonder in 2017. And I personally think if he's willing to leave to go to Miami because he thinks he's, all this and that, because he was on The Masked Singer and all this other crap that he wants to do.
Wait a minute. Zach bringing up The Masked Singer as a reason to trade Oladipo.
No, I'm just saying, I've seen
legendary Zach.
There's been a couple of
basketball only focus.
There's been a couple of podcasts where he's been frustrated where it was told, this is all rumors, by the way, this is straight Pacers Digest and podcasts and different things, but that he was upset that if he felt like it wasn't his team anymore, it was Brogdon that had taken over, and he's developed this kind of almost and I don't know if it's true or not, this is what they're saying, but almost like a diva mentality. But I don't know if it's mental because of the injury or what, but it was a flash in the pan to me that year. I think he wanted to prove that he was a good player, but also he had nothing to lose that year of the trade. They were just the players thrown in for Paul George. And, if you look at his career, he's averaged 17.3 points a game. And if you looked at comparable players, so to me, Victor Oladipo is a Robin to someone's Batman, or the guy that can help you get over the hump if you have a team built, but you just can't get from the Eastern or Western Conference Finals to the NBA Finals. And so if you look at guys with similar stats to Victor Oladipo, ignore 2017. Just think of Victor Oladipo throughout his career, except for that anomaly. Guys who have similar stats to Victor Oladipo were Robins or third options. And these are guys who have similar stats. Kevin Martin, Allen Houston, Rudy Gay, Jason Richardson, Richard Hamilton. They're all guys who were your second or third option that helped you get to an Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals to the NBA Finals. They're not a guy that's going to carry you and be that transcendent star that gets you over the hump. He's just not that guy. I mean, 2017 were career years for field goal attempts, 3-point percentage, 2-point percentage, free throw attempts, rebounds, steals, and points. And, we always think of him as this guy with super athletic ability. He can get to the rim, which he can, but his injury is hindering him. So if he doesn't have that athletic ability, what does he go back to besides that 2017 year? He goes back to his averages. Well, if you look at his career offensive box plus minus, he's at a career of 0.6. 2017, he was at a 4.1. 2020, he was at negative 2.2. If you go to the defensive side of things on his box plus minus, he's at a career of 0.6. That's comparable to Russell Westbrook or Kyle Lowry. While in 2017, he was at a 1.7. And this year, he was at a negative 1.1, which is DJ Augustine and Carmelo Anthony is where he ranked.
Yeah.
So that 2017 is just, to me, is just this big outlier.
I think sadly, I think more and more that you're right. And I would say that I think the Pacers need to think like this. If we're going to actually put this franchise in a trajectory where we want to compete for a championship in 2-3 years time, which I think is the right way we should be thinking about the current situation, then you need to make not only coaching decisions, but roster decisions that reflect that as well. To Zach's point, Victor Oladipo, God love him, is not the best player on a championship winning team. Now, what I will say though is that a guy like Brogdon is even a almost better Robin in a way that I think Victor could be to someone the Pacers acquire. Now, the fact is, if you go out and pay Victor next year $30 million, you're not getting another player. You're not getting that best player. So by signing him, you are effectively locking yourself into a spot unless you, for some reason, think that he can go back to what he was in 2017, but get even better, because you have to get better. I think that's where the Pacers need to think. You're about to pay someone $30 million, which will essentially screw you out of winning an NBA championship. So the best player that the Pacers have had since Paul George, and one of the top players they've had in their entire franchise, is actually the worst thing for this team. And I hate saying that, but it's as simple as that. He cannot be your best player. By signing him for $30 million, you take yourself out of winning an NBA championship. And if the Pacers think like that, then they need to move off of him this season, at the end of the season, and the thing is, though, the Pacers need to start thinking like that. I went on a huge rant in our last pod we did that the Pacers don't make decisions that actually put themselves in contention to win NBA championships. We make decisions that get us lots of regular season wins, and we put up great fights against good teams. This is another one of those moments. We fired Nate, step one. Step two, hire a program building coach. Great. Step 3 is making tough decisions when it comes to the roster. And if the Pacers can get back, if like let's say they traded with the Heat, which I don't know if that was your perspective trade, Ross, but that's someone obviously has been rumored. If you get back Hero and a second round pick, fine. I don't care. Move off of him. The thing is, at the end of the day, I care more about having 30 mil in cap space than I do about what I get back in return for Oladipo, because 30 mil gives me a chance to do something. Oladipo re-signing, we're doing more podcasts like this over the next few years.
It does feel like if we were just to have Sabonis, Brogdon, and Warren as your don't fall over.
I almost
I haven't said the trade yet. Goodness, if Sabonis, Warren, and Brogdon are your core, while you go look for the star and trade Oladipo for something, because he's given us nothing. Obviously, the last 2 years, 1 year for injury and last year recovery, this year recovery, but that team is still as good as it's been, and still decent enough. I don't know. I'm still taking some convincing, but I see the merit in it. And I've read the Miami rumors. I've read a New York rumor, and I have a Timberwolves trade.
But Ross, here, Ross, I'm going to ask you a few questions here. All right.
No.
Can Victor Oladipo be the best player on a championship winning team? Ross, what's the answer? The answer, the answer. The answer is no.
They took Cleveland to 7 games.
Oh my gosh.
Ross, the answer is no. The answer is no. The answer is no. He is not Giannis. He is not Jason Tatum. He is not LeBron. He is not Kawhi. He's not. All right. So he's not. So what do you have to do then? You have to trade him.
Move him.
You have to trade him.
When it comes to the playoffs,
you have to
less. In the playoffs, it's about who has the bigger dog, the best player in one-on-one situations, who can get buckets. If you watch the Jazz and Nuggets series, it was Murray and Mitchell going back and forth all day and night. You know what I mean? Can Victor Oladipo score 50 a night to keep up with Murray?
And the thing is that Brogdon had a fantastic series. Like Brogdon was electric, right? Like you want to give me like 31 and 16. Like the guy can play. We've got him locked up, right? We got him locked up for a good price at the end of the day too. Jeremy Lamb, I mean, this team without Victor was a pretty good team, right? Like we pretty much earned that spot where we landed in the playoffs without Victor. And again, we had Victor in the playoffs, and again, he's still coming back. But like again, you cannot let anything else get in the way of the answers to those two questions. It's, can Oladipo be the best player for this team, a championship-winning team? The answer is no. The answer is no. There is no, but the answer is no. Next part is, then what do? You have to trade him. That's it. It literally it doesn't get as simple. It's more simple than that.
And it kind of goes back to who's the coach going to be, because does the coach think they can win with this current roster with Oladipo, and does the coach think they can win with the Twin Towers?
Well, that's the thing. The only way Victor Oladipo should stay for an entire season next year in the Indiana Pacers is if D'Antoni or one of these coaches who is, been around the block a minute and is not a program builder convinces leadership that he can win with this team. That's the only way it should happen. And I don't think it should happen, because I don't think anyone should be able to convince this management team that that's the case. Now, I think what Pritchard said over the past few days has led me to believe that he thinks along the same lines. But again, if as diehard Pacers fans like we all are, if we actually want to see this team win a championship, this is the offseason that they make the toughest decisions that they've ever had to make.
Yeah, I think it's less about – I always feel like with the Pacers fan, they're always in the middle. They never want to not necessarily tank, but they never want to get a good draft pick, but they never want to spend a ton of money or take the risk to go for it all. They try to build everything and play things smart.
But yeah, and I think the thing is, though, is that, like, look, you can go to the Simons and be like, look, this isn't actually a big risk. Like, we've got the same team next year without Oladipo that got us the 4th seed, right? Like, Brogdon is locked up. Lamb is locked up. Sabonis, Turner. Like, hopefully we can talk about Turner in a second, but, like, we're not blowing it up by moving off Oladipo.
Here's what Coach may say, who comes in and says they can win this year, and this was in our chat from Jamin. The projected starting 5 this year only played 86 combined total minutes together. So that's Brogdon, Warren, Oladipo, Sabonis, Turner. They really didn't get to see enough of that.
I'm sorry. What would we have seen within that lineup? Was it gonna beat the Lakers? Was it gonna beat the Celtics?
Beat the Lakers
We would have seen Miles Turner not switching on defense.
one game.
So I think if we don't start thinking like that as Pacers fans, then we're not fans, we're fanatics.
True.
I'm
You got to
willing
make
to
the hard choice.
I'm willing to suck for a year or two. If they say, "Hey, we're going to hire Becky Hammond," we're going
Well,
to.
you won't suck with Brogdon and
Well,
Sabonis. You'll
what
still
I'm
be
saying is-
solid.
What I'm saying is, hey, we're willing to not be that great this year to accumulate some assets and maybe get a draft pick.
Yeah.
But then
I hear you, but
then
I feel like
then it goes back to Kevin Pritchard actually trying to draft
Yeah.
somebody decent, which he hasn't done.
I feel like
So-
even the Pacers will stumble into the 6th seed every year
And
without
th- no,
trying
and that-
with
and
this
that's
lineup.
fine. And that's fine. I think no matter what, the Pacers will be a good team next year. The Pacers will
Mhm.
be a good team. Brooklyn will obviously improve with Durant and Irving, but for the most part, I think the East will pretty much stay how it currently is formed. That's fine. Take the 5th seed, take the 6th seed. Doesn't matter. This is about the next 5 years. This is not about next season. This is about, do you want to win an NBA championship, the Indiana Pacers franchise? If you do, make the hard decisions, because this is like such a pivotal moment for us, because we've never had a situation like this where we have opportunity to both A, reset our culture with a new coach, and B, move off a player who will cost the Pacers $30 million. And that's only saying if he re-signs. If he doesn't re-sign, which I'm skeptical of, then you've lost this opportunity to get something for him. So if he's probably going to walk, and you're trying to do something to actually put yourself in a good place 3 years from now, not just next season, I think make the easy choice, because this is an easy choice. This is not a hard one.
Here is Bleacher Report's proposed trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know why Minnesota would do this unless they think they're in win now mode like the next 2 years, but here's the trade. The Wolves would get Victor. Pacers get the first pick and Jarrett Culver.
That's a
Be the number one pick.
report, just like randomly.
It's not going to happen. They would not trade the number one pick
No,
and
no.
a player
No.
for Vic.
No.
But obviously, if that was proposed, the Pacers would do that. I would assume.
I'd be shocked if the Pacers got a lottery pick for Victor right now.
Well, I think you have
You
to
got
look
one
at-
more year of a cheap contract.
You have to
And
look
his
at
ceiling
teams
was so
that are gonna be
high.
interested, though. So there's not
Yeah.
many teams in the East that are contenders that it would actually make sense for outside of the Heat. The Heat are kind of the only team in the East
Who's ready to go now?
who's ready to go now, and it makes sense for.
Bucks.
Now, the only other team I'd say is Philly, but the thing with Philly is
You went Tobias Harris for $32 million.
no. I wouldn't even touch that. But I think the thing with the Sixers is that any trade that they're going to be looking to do is first probably going to be to move one of their two big pieces. So I just don't see the Pacers happening. So it's pretty much the Heat. Now with the Heat, I'd be fine with a lot of different things because they got a lot of talent on their roster, whatever. But then I think you got to look out west. Anyways, if Pritchard is determined to make a trade, I think he will make a good trade. He's made some, obviously made a very solid trade in acquiring Oladipo to start with. But I think that's part one. I think then part two, if you can't get it done with part one, is moving off Miles as well. Because I think with Miles, the experiment is over, right? We can't have him finding out in game 4 of a sweep that he's 6'11" and can shoot over 6'6". Like, we can't have him figuring that out 3-4 games into the series. We can't have any more of this finding himself. He is what he is. It's way too much money to pay someone
SOFT.
who is soft
Oh.
and has too many mind. He plays basketball more in his head than he does out on the court, and that's just what it comes down to. So if the Pacers can move them both together, amazing. I actually could possibly see that happening in Miami, because Pat Riley loves a good long defender who can block shots. He signed Hassan Whiteside to a terrible contract, but he obviously likes that type of player. Any way they can, though, I feel like if they can move off both of those players by the trade deadline of next season, I think the Pacers will be in a much better spot.
I'd
And
take.
we won't regret it.
Yeah. What would you? Who would you take from the Heat? Some of the young pieces, because let
I'd
them
take
win now.
Hero. I'd take
None Hero, and
No, I wouldn't take none.
they'll probably want to give up Olenek.
I take Hero a first.
I
and
don't
then-
want Olenek. I despise Olenek, but
I
they
don't
want to
know.
give
I
him
take
up.
Hero first, then I have to look at their roster. But the thing is, You just need young players in return, and you need draft picks. You need young and draft picks, and then we just cannot screw up another draft. Like,
But you can't screw it up. But all this
TJ
goes
Leaf.
back to,
Every
Gosh,
time
he's
Toronto
so
tweets out
bad.
a Anunoby highlight,
Anunoby is out there looking like just like a potential all-star, and like, or just at least can play basketball. And TJ Leaf is
it's the
killing
hair.
me.
it was the hair. It's what done it. Did it.
You
No,
Gotta
it's
talk about
everything.
man
It's the
bun.
fact that his name is TJ Leaf. It's the fact that he has terrible facial hair. It's everything about him is terrible. I hate him.
Well, nothing is going to happen until we have a coach, because the coach, I think Kevin Pritchard even said in the press conference that the coach will help be the main deciding factor on what happens with this roster.
And
So
I like that. Don't saddle a coach with a team he doesn't fit his style.
So if that coach comes in and says, I don't want Miles Turner because he's soft, and I don't want Oladipo because he's over the hill, then we'll make moves. Like Alex said earlier, if that coach comes in and says, I can win with this team now, it's going to stay the same. They might get rid of a couple pieces, but that's it.
What I hope, though, is that if we do sign a Mark Jackson, a D'Antoni, it's stupid. It's stupid if we hire them, but if we do it, please, for a 1-year deal, just like, at least then we could still reset with the same roster, except we wouldn't have gotten anything back from Oladipo. But like, please don't do anything rash and sign someone to a longer term deal who's not that program builder.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Guys, I'm so, I mean, like, we're Pacers fans through and through. And for all those listening, this is stuff that I would have been like, oh, that's negative Alex a year ago. And we just have to start thinking like this. Like, I'm tired of watching. I'm tired of just not having a chance. I am. I'm done with it.
Well, step one is to make a good coaching decision, and I hope Kevin Pritchard makes one. And if he doesn't this go around, then we can all start questioning him as general manager. Otherwise, shelve that discussion for another time, personally.
Quick trivia for you, though.
Yes.
Sure.
So we were talking about the defensive box plus minus and how Oladipo's best was a 1.7. Number one all time is David Robinson. Can you guess who number 2 is?
Defensive plus minus?
Yeah, box plus minus.
Hakeem or Jordan?
Are you ready for the answer? Nate McMillan.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Wow.
He's number 2 behind David Robinson.
Oh, boy.
For careers.
Yeah.
And then I think after Nate, it's another guy, and then 4 is Draymond. I think 5 or 6 is Ben Wallace. So at least Nate had something going for him.
Doesn't translate to coaching though. You know who Nate reminded me of as an Indiana fan?
Who's that?
Chuck Pagano. He would give the same answers that, like, got to keep grinding. We got to just execute better. I'm like, oh my, say something original, say something true instead of just that we got to be better.
Well, it's not
driving
even
me
the,
nuts
like,
at the end.
It's not even like the lack of personality, but it's that the lack of personality shows, exactly what they're like in the
Lack
locker
of
room.
creativity, lack of adjustment.
Like, Nate's not giving a rousing speech. He's also like not probably going to be like the most like emotional players, whatever, but like our coaches. But like you in this day and age, you need someone who can connect, can build, and can adapt. And Nate couldn't connect. He wouldn't adapt. And whatever the third thing I said was, he couldn't do that either.
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
That's what I'm saying, man. If they hire Becky Hammond, I think those guys will listen, because you ever been
look at my name on
by
here.
your mama or your wife?
Becky for coach. Man.
I'm with it. I'm all on board, and I didn't feel confident, but after talking with you guys, I feel confident, even though we have no decisions.
Do you have any questions or Twitter questions or anything?
No, there was tonight was the well, wait, hang on. He hasn't called. Nate was called Sarge. That was his nickname. No, the only thing tonight was about David West, Sam Cassell, and if the Rockets lose, how are the Rockets doing? Because if they lose, D'Antoni is going to be free.
Currently, see, Boston beat Toronto, Denver. Wait, this is yesterday. Sorry. Basketball. Here we go.
Great radio. Great radio.
I was on Basketball Reference, and they're.
I figured you were, and you're pulling up those stats. I'm like, man, Zach, you're killing it. Killing me.
I had prepped that a little bit,
That was good.
Right now, the Thunder are down by 1 with 3 minutes left in the third.
I don't know who I want to win. I guess the Rockets.
And Miami beat Milwaukee tonight to go up.
Yes.
And
Very
if you
surprised.
remember about 4 podcasts ago, who predicted the Heat to go to the NBA Finals?
I'm assuming it's you, by the way.
There
You're
you go.
Dude,
Yeah,
Zach is the
Zach Stradamus.
Is
I
this
don't know.
wait? Is this Zach Lowe on the Corner 3 show? Is this the first time we
Professor
got a
Lowe?
national
Right.
media member?
Right. I told you I had a feeling.
No, they look good. Jimmy Butler is a baller. Sorry, he's just a baller. He's a straight up baller.
Mark Monteith says Pacers need someone of that mentality. When the game's on the line, when you need a bucket, someone who shot terribly,
That's the thing.
suddenly
Jimmy-
fourth quarter turns it on and crushes
Well, that's the
it.
thing. Like 2 years ago, you would have looked at Jimmy and Victor and be like, maybe like they're kind of the same thing. No. Jimmy is that dude. Jimmy is that dude. He's not kind about it. He's not sweet about it. But guess what? He is that dude. He would imagine him with Miles Turner.
Miles would cry. and
He would
quit.
destroy Miles Turner.
I was thinking about this today. I don't want to extend the podcast too long, but
Go for it.
watching the Heat versus the Pacers, and
Swagger.
this is like just an analogy or whatever, but the Pacers need some guys that are just mean, like some dogs in a fight. Like you get, as soon as TJ Warren sees Jimmy Butler, he just, he gets all nervous and he doesn't play like he does. And Miles Turner. If you would have had Jimmy Butler with David West on those Eastern Conference Finals teams, we would have got past the Heat.
We would have.
Because you would have had West,
believe that.
Stevenson, and Butler, 3 dudes who wouldn't put
That's
up.
the thing. The Pacers have never gone full like that dude. Like
Morris
we kind of did.
brothers.
We almost did. But then we had like Roy Hibbert and
It did in the 90s with the Davis brothers.
Exactly.
Well,
We
Dale
did.
and
we went full that team, and that's the only time that when you can
Ron
win
Artest.
without a top 5 player, top 10 player, is when you completely commit to that team having that entire personality.
got to have a
But
personality.
you
Yeah.
have like a few guys, and like 1 or 2 here and there. But if we want to win, we either have to do what I think we're hopefully doing, which is reset a bit, or when you do have that opportunity and you've got a good core, you just get to go full all in that dude team. And I'm done.
I like it. That's why we should call this episode "That Dude." That's all I got. I'm glad,
That's
Zach,
okay.
you made it back. Well, I don't know if we'll do another one this season until the coach is hired, but
We'll do it when the coach is hired.
for sure.
Because we'll be upset that who they hired.
If it's not one of the any of the names we mentioned tonight as our top like
It's gonna
10,
be like Austin Crozier, and I'm
Oh,
just
God.
gonna run myself out into the street.
glad he's off the radio. At least that was a bad run.
Or Chris Webber. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Guy makes me want to like put something in my ears. I don't know. All right, sounds good. That was a fun one, guys. Thanks for listening in. We're the Corner 3 show. We'll be back soon once the Pacers hire a coach, hopefully a woman. See you guys.
Thanks. Stop recording. I'll turn off the live.